All right, welcome everyone to another episode of 10 Minute Poker Tips. Got a special guest today, Jer Hamey, who is a mega tournament grinder. This guy had 42 final tables last year in 2024, which is just like a number that I don't really quite comprehend. It's so ridiculous. 500 final tables just at the Gardens Casino alone lifetime. I mean, this guy is just like a master grinder. He's out there every day doing it. And what he's going to be talking to us about today is really about the mental game of poker, because this guy has been through it all. He's been in the game forever. You can see the bomb that he's putting in. So thank you, Jeremy, for coming on the show today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Derek. Yeah, I thought I would come on and kind of talk about the mindset of someone that's playing virtually every day and the importance of making sure that you're preparing yourself before you enter a tournament. There's a lot of very important keys there. I think it all starts with the ability to reset each day and not carry over any baggage from the previous tournament or the previous spot or bad beat that you took that might affect your play in the present and in that current tournament that you're entering. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to have PTSD when it comes to certain hands or certain spots where maybe you play them differently because of hands that haven't gone your way in the past. And I know for certain that's not the way that you want to go about things. So that ability to reset your mind going into a tournament with confidence, without anything but a clear mind and focus on what you're trying to achieve that day is vital.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely suffer from the same thing where I just go on tilt and then it will just affect me. It's tough. So I'm sure you're going to give us some tips. How do you do this brain wipe to make sure that you're able to stay focused?
Yeah, well, after every day of poker, I certainly review hands either with friends or just with myself, thinking about spots that I was in and what I did good or bad or correctly or incorrectly in some spots. I'm always trying to get better, always trying to improve. But once I've made the decision that I played those spots either correctly or incorrectly, I learn from it. And then I try to erase it and literally wake up that next day refreshed and ready to go. And, I think it's so important that you play with confidence and you play each tournament where you're expecting to win and expecting to do well, and not just the mindset of, well, I hope today I run good. That's going to happen. If you're a tournament player, you're going to have spots where you run amazing and run horribly. And there's not a whole lot you can control there, but what you can control is how you play. And that comes with the ability to be rested and prepared and confident in your abilities.
Yeah, so it does sound like it's not just mental, but then also physical. So the physical parts of preparation are also pretty important.
No question. I don't think any of us think that we are good players when we're tired. I don't know of anybody that thinks that's a thing, right? So getting enough rest as best you can is super important. I believe in having a good breakfast, especially when you're starting a tournament like at 11 or noon, and it's probably going to be an all-day thing. Obviously, you're going to find some time to get something to eat throughout the day, but any personal trainer would say breakfast is the most important meal, right? So I think that's the same for poker players as well. Making sure that you're ready to go prior to that tournament is good. And that comes with clear mind. It's so easy to have things in your personal life on your mind. And it's hard to be successful when you're tired, and it's harder to be successful if you've got stuff on your mind, especially anything negative. So you've got to be able to do your best with clearing that space in your head and being able to focus on your best play, and your health comes with that for sure.
I mean, it seems hard to compartmentalize things that are going on in my personal life when I show up for tournaments. So any like tips and tricks for how do you, I don't know, do that?
I try to, when something negative creeps in my head, I do my best to change my thought process and change to positive things that are going on in my life. We all have difficulties and struggles through life, no question, but it's not going to be something that is going to help your poker game at all while you're at a table. And if you are distracted, that's when mistakes happen. So taking your brain and your thoughts to places that are necessarily your happy place or at least a positive thing is super important, and trying to shove any negative thoughts to the side and making sure that you're focusing on what C4 is doing, what tells CD8's giving away, and just kind of lose yourself in this great game and playing to the best of your ability.
I also know that you have a background in basketball. I think you were sort of kissing the NBA. You were kind of right there. So obviously you know a lot about physical fitness. How much does physical fitness matter to the things that you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, as I watch all the high stake crushers and follow them in terms of what they're doing and how they take care of themselves, they're all working out. They're all doing a great job staying physically fit, eating the right foods, getting enough rest. You know, that's different from the old school playing for 72 hours straight and eating a cheeseburger at the table. You don't see that nearly as much with the great players in our game. And that tells you how much value the best players in our game are valuing their health and their mental health and being as focused as they can at their peak when they're playing in the most important stakes and tournaments that they play in each year. So there's just no question that it's incredibly valuable. I think a good workout or even just something like a nice long walk in the mornings is incredibly valuable. When I do my World Series grind, I try to have a really good breakfast and then I try to walk for 30, 45 minutes before we get started. And that can be challenging because sometimes we're getting done at midnight or 1 a.m., getting back to the hotel late, and then we have a 10 or 11 a.m. start that next day. You're not going to get as much rest as you want to, and you have to just do the best you can. I think it's really important to take those steps before every tournament.
That is a good topic to talk about. World Series of Poker, it's coming up soon. But when you're away from home, I think all these things become harder. So how do you do this when you're away, staying in a hotel, everything's super expensive, hard to kind of get to, in Vegas?
Yeah, I've learned the hard way. I think I picked up things each year as I've gone to the World Series, and now everything's changed now that the World Series is on the Strip and at Horseshoe in Paris. There's things that I do now. I used to never carry a backpack or anything like that. Now I think it's vital. I think having obviously water and snacks to have throughout the day. But for me, things like allergy medication because I'm allergic to smoke, and as you walk in between, you can see it's brutal. Yeah. It's really bad, especially, I literally have to do my inhaler and worry because it's so bad. But having ibuprofen, having things that you just might need and hopefully you don't need, but having a complete set of things that are at your disposal throughout the day so you don't have to try to scramble during a 20-minute break to try to track those things down is really important.
Yeah, and I definitely struggle when I'm in Vegas and I take a lot of trips to the Rite Aid or whatever that is, or the CVS that's right down. I mean, I frequent that a lot just to save money on water and stuff like that for sure. So you talked a bunch about preparing yourself before a tournament. What about after a tournament? Are there any things that you do after a tournament to try to, detox, unwind, maybe even get ready for the next day?
Yeah, I like to do kind of a personal evaluation of my play that day, think of situations and spots. I take some time doing that. I definitely try to make sure I've got enough to eat so I don't have headaches and things like that. But I'm basically, if I'm bagging and it's midnight or 1 o'clock, I'm trying to get back to the room as quick as I can. No distractions in terms of 30 minutes of listening to hand histories from friends and bad beats that they took. I'm all for them and supporting them, but still, we got to get back and get as much rest as we can, especially on those 10 a.m. restarts, because I do want to get up in time, like I said, to have that good breakfast and move that body around, whether it's a workout or a walk or something, to where you're able to not only get some oxygen going and resetting that mind, but also, making sure that you're ready to go when that tournament starts, because every decision can be a huge one, right? You never know whether it's beginning, middle, or end of a tournament where you have a spot that almost defines that tournament. Being ready to go is super important. I'm not a coffee guy like you, and I think that coffee is super valuable. I wish I could do it. It gives me crazy heartburn, so I can't do coffee. No. But man, I think that, having a clear mind, there's lots of different ways to do it. And I know that a lot of great players get that big cup of coffee going before a tournament as well.
Yeah, and I know that, you and I are both older and hopefully a little bit wiser with our age. But then, I think for older players, it is a little bit of a different calculation on how you kind of prep, right? Because the energy might not be there, the physical endurance might not be there. So any tips for some of the older players and how that you might go about trying to navigate these extremely long tournament days, especially up against a lot of younger players?
No question. And I don't know about other players our age, but I'm more mentally tired than physically tired usually after, playing several days in a row all day. My exhaustion is not necessarily a physical thing. It's literally a mental thing, right? So that's when doing a good job with exercise and rest and making sure you eat not only good food, but enough.
Yeah.
I literally usually lose weight when I go to the World Series, which is weird because I don't have my amazing home cooked meals from my wife. I'm not eating as much and I'm not eating on a regular schedule. It's kind of like a as you can type of thing. That brings up another point, like the dinner breaks. I think that you should know what you're going to do on your dinner break before the tournament starts.
Yeah.
Whether it's making a reservation at a restaurant, having some buddies get set up so you can rush to that restaurant.
Yep.
And not just eat in time, but be able to relax. Because usually post dinner break is when the most important poker is going to be happening. It's obviously when the levels are higher and the decisions are bigger. You want to make sure you use that dinner break really valuable time wise. And, with it being on the strip these days, there's lots of options.
Yeah.
But you also have at times thousands of people going to dinner break at the same time.
Right.
So you don't want to sit in lines and use up half of your time just trying to get to a location and order. I think that it's really important to have a plan there and execute the dinner break as best you can. I know people that stay in Horseshoe or Paris, they use that time to actually go back to the room and rest, which is fantastic. But if you are going to go have dinner, have a plan, execute what you're trying to accomplish in that 75 minutes, know all the options that are around and what's in the area. I've got friends that go over to Planet Hollywood to Earl of Sandwich or P.F. Chang's. I know people that go across the street to the Aria and their incredible food court. You're able to get reservations inside of Paris or Horseshoe.
Yeah.
That's great. You're going to be able to be on top of things. But you definitely want to do your best on executing the dinner break with a good plan of attack there for sure.
Yeah, and my secret spot has been there's a food gallery or something on the top floor of the Cosmo that has unbelievable food. Actually not that expensive. I hope everybody doesn't flood that based on this video because it is great.
That's what I was thinking of when I said food court and Aria, because it's right
Cosmo,
yeah, and that place is amazing with 8 different options of high quality food for sure.
Jeremy, this was incredible. I learned a lot from this, and I'm sure the poker community, whether you want to or not, to listen to this type of advice, it's really important that you get your mental game right when you're playing poker, especially tournaments, because it is like an endurance test, right? So Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on, buddy.
Honored to be on the show, Derek.